treat people like shit, fire people whilst on holiday, be a racist, enjoy losing 2 jobs, dickhead. So I used to be a consultant for a large technology company. My role was essentially to go in and manage the operations of a project or program in order to make sure it was running smoothly. This particular job was on a large international bank, and tensions were high as the project was failing. We had this program manager, who was also my direct manager, let's call him Nobby. Nobby consistently talked to and treated people like shit, told people to sort their life out and to stop failing, etc. Some other examples of his behavior are firing contractors whilst they were on holiday, purposely blacklisting people he had a personal issue with even though their performance was fine, told me not to hire or interview any African people because they were lazy and shit, made people work until 2 a.m. multiple times a week, then belittled them for not being in at 6 a.m. Anyway, I did my best as the ops manager to try and stop this happening or make life a bit easier for the people. But it wasn't working. So I decided to quietly build up a business conduct case in the background whilst this was going on. It got so bad I submitted the case to legal. Then one day it was my turn. Nobby decided to fire me in the most spectacular way in front of the client and the other staff, as he couldn't handle me going against him anymore. Except I had submitted a case against him which protected me against retaliation, so I kept my ass on that seat next to him while the investigation continued. He was eventually sacked for everything he did and the legal exposure he caused. Fast forward 2 years, I am at another large consultancy. Part of my role is to keep an eye on who's being hired, etc. I see Nobby's name come up on a report of incoming hires. I check his CV and it's him. So I block his hire and have them rescind his £100,000 a year offer. Dickhead. Edit: no, I will not tell you where I worked, so stop inboxing me with guesses. Now to the comments. It's so good though that you got to check incoming CVs. He must do a good interview or they wouldn't have considered hiring him. That's kind of frightening. OP replied. He completely lied on a lot of his CV about his achievements and was a good talker. Yeah, it's scary, as there's no legal way of checking about his past discrepancies. Shame they couldn't have called him back for a re-interview. Now, Mr. Nobby, it says here on your CV this and this. But we have received information, but the truth is actually this and this. Perhaps you would care to clarify? Love this. Just a thought. View his LinkedIn so he knows it's you who stopped his hiring. Perhaps make sure yours is updated and include your role in vetting new hires. OP replied. I did exactly that. Ah, that is satisfying. Great/petty minds think alike. I had a boss try and pull the work till 2 a.m. better be back in at 6 a.m. for the next day. I basically said, I'll be back in at 2 p.m. because 12 hours are required between the end of one day and start of another. He got mad. He was only mad because he knew you were right and could even be sharing that information to team members. Legalities be danged when it comes to managers like that. I have one right now that works her countrymen, Bosnian, harder than the Americans. She makes them work through lunch. But none of them want to complain because they know it will start trouble. It's actually common for immigrant business owners or managers to work their countrymen harder and pay them less. Loyalty/solidarity often comes into play. Man, I love how you wrote your post, detailing everything that happened so clearly in less than 20 sentences. OP replied. Thanks, dude. Awesome. I wonder if they told him why. OP replied. I viewed his LinkedIn profile several times after so that he would get the little notification that says 20% viewed your profile. So, I like to think he knows why. That's like crushing some salt on top of this deliciously hot served dish. Yay. Congrats on the professional approach to an unprofessional person. Big thanks for standing up for the other team members also. As long as these types of people suffer no consequence, they'll continue to behave the way they do. I'm so glad management people are starting to realize the true cost of letting them away with it. They can destroy an entire team with their BS. OP replied. Absolutely. As the famous quote goes, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men do nothing. This is one of the times I wish I could give more than one upvote. I started to hate corporate and IT companies because I had to deal with a lot of managers like that. I was programming at my 12th, loved it, but I did end up home and depressed and never coded a single line anymore. Stuff like this helps me get out of my depression and have a bit of faith in people again. Thank you. OP replied, "You're welcome. The checks and balances are in place to stop people like this, especially in big corporations. You just have to know how to use them, that's all. Don't let it get you down." I've seen managers call out employees in front of customers and my thoughts were, can't you do this privately? Could this not possibly wait? OP replied, "It's the worst." As soon as I saw the word dickhead, I somehow knew this was going to be a Brit. Called him Nobby, that was all the clue I needed. What was his reaction when he fired you and you didn't leave? Was it in that moment that he discovered his case? How long between the public sacking of yourself and his job ending? OP replied, "Angry mumbling and generally avoiding having to interact with me. If you had the evidence to file a criminal case against him, then if the initial hearing goes that the judge is in favor of you, you can play nice and offer to settle by forcing him to make a public apology. He will thank you for it, thinking he escaped imprisonment. But then his name will come up in every background check from any potential big company that wants to hire him, pretty much barred him for life on any good job. It's a lot more complicated to do in practice though, and I am not American, so law might be a bit different where you are, but hating assholes is pretty much universal. I just can't stop thinking Nobby is a free elf. Harry Potter saved Nobby. Give shit, get shit. Never understand why people don't live by the golden rule. It makes life so much simpler. I also work for a very large consulting company and have had to report more than one project manager for exactly these causes. This kind of behavior is not acceptable and is not tolerated, especially by me. Ice cold on the second block, meticulous and diligent on the first. Pro. File this under what goes around comes around. I'm a retired Leo, in HS3 guys, seniors, tried to beat the snot out of a friend of mine who had severe diabetes. I stepped in and took the worst beating. But I had 3 older brothers, so I was used to it. My friend was able to get away. Flash forward 7 years. I'm a highway patrolman and I stop a car for speeding. Guess what? All 3 jokers who attacked my buddy and me are in car. Let's just say they took the train home when I got finished. W them. Moral of story is there is justice in the world for bad people. OP replied, "You should do your own post." Thank you. I'm surprised any Brit put up with someone forcing them to work until 2 AM and then again at 6 AM. I'd have gone to the trade union so fast his head would have spun. OP replied, "Contractors on a day rate in an investment banking environment. It's not unheard of.